Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live Cricut workshop. We're just going to give folks just a couple minutes to make their way into our Zoom space. Make yourself comfortable. Feel free to have your favorite beverage, something to write with, something to write on, because we're going to be sharing lots of tips and tricks today. And again, we are going to get started in just a second here. We're just going to give folks just a chance to make their way into our Zoom space. So again, welcome. We are recording today's class. We're actually streaming it right now on YouTube, and we're going to be sharing that link with you. Actually, it's already in our chat. So if you go to our chat, you can find that link right there. So again, we're just going to get started in just a couple seconds here. I'm just going to give folks a chance to make their way into our Zoom space. So excited that you are all here joining us for our live workshop. So welcome, everyone. Looks like folks are making their way into our space. Hi, everyone. So as folks are making their way in, I'm going to launch a polling question for you. And I'd like to know if you've taken one of our other Cricut workshops. So this is a multiple choice question, so you feel free to decide. Pick as many workshops you've taken before. So again, this is going to really help us out. So if you could just answer that polling question for us as folks make their way into our Zoom space. Again, have you taken one of our Cricut workshops? Maybe you've taken the iron-on before and you're back to learn more tips and tricks, or you've taken our 101 or our 102 class. I see some thumbs up going up. So I love that. Looks like folks are excited, which is great because we're going to have some fun working on a wonderful t-shirt project and learning more about using our Cricut cutting machine and design space. So I'm going to give it just a couple more seconds before I end this polling question. And we'll get started with today's class. All right, so I'm going to end that poll. I'm going to share those results in just a little bit. But first, welcome everyone to our live Cricut iron-on workshop. My name is Danny. I'm going to be your Cricut coach, and I am super excited to be joined by our two Cricut experts, Katie and Christine. They're working behind the scenes to answer any questions you might have. So if you do have a question throughout today's workshop, you want to use our Q&A section located down below on the bottom of your screen. That's how they're going to answer your questions, plus I will get to see your questions, and I just might answer one of those questions live as well. Again, if you're just joining us, we are recording today's class. So we're going to be sharing a ton of information with you. No worries, because you're going to have that recording that you can look back on, you can pause, go back, rewatch it. You have that available to you. If you go to the chat, which is how we're going to be sharing additional resources with you throughout today's workshop, you'll see in the chat, Katie has put the link to our YouTube streaming. So you can go ahead and just copy it. You can open it in your browser. If you do that and you do have Zoom open, you might be hearing me talking at the same time. So you might want to just turn off the sound on your on the YouTube video if you want to open it up now. You're more than welcome to just copy it and paste it into an email to send to yourself, or you could open up, if you have like a notepad type app or Microsoft Word document just to paste it, then you have it available to you. We will email it to you as well. But if you do want to access it, it's in the chat available for you. So how is today's class, this workshop, going to work? It's going to work in two parts. It's going to be part one. I'm going to share a brief slide presentation with you going over working in iron-on. How is it to work in iron-on, the different types of iron-on materials that are out there available for you. So that's going to be part one. And then part two, we're going to create a fun t-shirt design, which you're going to see in just a little bit. Now, you can just watch and take notes and ask questions, or if you want to go ahead and join us and craft along with us, you want to make sure that you turn on your machine so it's ready to go and you open up Design Space, because we want to make sure that you don't have any updates or anything that needs to take place. So again, if you want to create this project, after today's class, you are more than welcome to do that. Again, this is here for you and whatever you're looking to do and get out of today's class. So let me share this first polling result here. Which Cricut workshops have you taken? So looks like 47% of you have taken Cricut 101. Perfect. This is not a beginner style class. So if you're new to Cricut, and it looks like we have 30% of you that this is your first Cricut workshop, but if you're completely new to working with the Cricut machine and design space, feel free to sign up for our 101 class because it really takes you through getting started. And we will be sharing links on how you can sign up for other classes throughout today's workshop. Looks like 28% have taken our Cricut 102. Wonderful. 30%, this is their first Cricut workshop. So again, we're excited to have you here. 19% have taken our card workshop. We actually have a card workshop coming up on Thursday. It's a note card set. We have 9% have taken iron-on before. Welcome back. And 4% have taken our paper flowers. So again, these questions really help me and our Cricut experts know who's in the workshop so we can really provide you with the best resources. So another question for you, especially if you missed that first one because you did not join us right at the beginning. Which Cricut machine will you be using? It doesn't have to be today. Maybe you have more than one machine. What's the most popular machine that you use, right? So I'm working with the Maker 3, but sometimes I work with the Joy. Lately, I've been loving the Joy Extra. So pick the one that you use the most. So for me, it would be the Maker 3 that I use the most. So again, this is just going to give us some information, some feedback on who's in today's class so we can provide you with the best resources. So I'm just going to give it another couple seconds before I end that poll. All right, so let's see what we have here. So it looks like we have about 56% are using some type of maker, right? So they're using the regular Maker or the Maker 3. We have 29% are using an Explore Air, so I'm assuming that's the Air 2. We have 5% using the Cricut Joy, 5% using the Cricut Explore, and 6% using the Cricut Explore 3. So thank you for answering that question. And one last polling question. What device do you use for design space? So again, if you use more than one, what's the one that you use the most? So I tend to use more than one device, but I always start on my desktop or my laptop, right? So I usually tend to use that the most, but then sometimes I might switch over to my tablet device, or I might finish my project on my phone. If I'm traveling and I'm sitting, in the passenger seat, or I'm, traveling on a plane or a train or something, I love to sometimes just design on my phone in Design Space. So, but what's the one that you use the most? So I'm going to give it just a couple seconds for folks to be able to answer that question for us. Thank you so much, Amber. All of you are amazing. That's why, we are able to provide you with these classes, because we want to be able to help you on your crafting journey. And we get excited when you're excited about crafting. So, all right, so let's see. Looks like 93% of you are using a desktop or a laptop. We have 6% using a tablet device and 1% using a mobile device. Now, for those of you on a tablet or a mobile device, you know that Design Space looks a little bit different than on a desktop or a laptop. And I'm going to be working on a desktop. So if you're on that mobile or that tablet device, feel free to let our Cricut experts know. Say, hey, Katie, hey, Christine, I'm actually on a mobile device. Can you help me with this question? And they will be able to help you. I know Katie will put additional resources for those working on those mobile devices in the chat as well. So just know that, we're here to help you if you're working on a mobile or a tablet device. Donna says, can you use a laptop or a desktop with the Joy? Yes, you can. The Cricut Joy has its own app, but you can use Design Space with it as well, which you can use on your desktop or your laptop. Okay, so I'm going to end that polling question. So real quick, what happens if after today's class you have additional questions, you're having any challenges with your machine, you have a question about what material to use? We have a special email address that you can use. And for those of you that have taken other classes, I know you know it, and that's makewithus@cricut.com. Again, it's makewithus@cricut.com. And both Katie and Christine put that email address in the chat. So just send us an email. We ask that you give us about 24 hours to get a response back out to you. But again, we'd love to answer any questions you might have. So again, it's makewithus@cricut.com. All right, I'm ready. Are you ready? Okay, so here we go. So we're going to jump into part 1 of today's class. Feel free during this first part, if you have any questions, just jot them down. We really want you to focus in on the PowerPoint presentation. And then after the presentation, if you want, you could drop your questions in and we'll take just a teeny little break to answer any questions that might come up. All right, so feel free to ask them later on if you'd like. All right, so we're going to jump right in. So again, this is our iron-on t-shirt workshop. And I want to give you just a little glimpse into the project we're going to be making. So hello, my name is Awesome T-shirt. This is the t-shirt design that we're going to be creating. It is a ready-to-make design. And what I mean by that is it's already created. It's a template in Design Space that we're going to look for. And we are going to create from there, right? So we're actually going to modify it. We're going to change the color of it, the size. I'm going to show you a couple little tips and tricks with it. But we're going to do that in the second part. This first part is just a slide presentation. So anything I'm sharing, I'm not doing live. These are slides that have been created for today's class. Okay. So with any type of project that you're working on in Design Space, whether it's iron-on or it's you're working with just regular vinyl or any kind of design, you're creating a card, it's a 3-part process. And part 1, step 1 is all about the design process. So designing an iron-on project is quick and easy when you're using Cricut's Design Space, which for those of you that aren't familiar with Design Space just yet, that's Cricut's software program. So when it comes to design, there's lots of different options that you can do. You can search for ready-to-make projects, which is what we're going to do in just a little bit. You can design by using images that you would find in Cricut Access. You can upload your own design. Maybe you're a graphic artist, you're a fine artist and you've designed something that you upload, right? That you've designed on your computer, you can upload that. Or maybe you've purchased a design, you could also upload that into Design Space. You can also start from scratch. Maybe you just want to add some shapes, some text, really create your own design from scratch. You can also do that in Design Space. So again, step 1 is all about the creation process where you really get to be an artist and put some ideas and some elements down on that canvas and really create something that you're going to be excited about. So it's all about the design process. Once you've created a design that you're happy with, it's now time to involve your cutting machine, right? So step 2 is all about the cutting process. So using any Cricut cutting machine, you're going to cut your materials that you need. In this case, for iron-on, it's going to be some type of iron-on material, whether it's just regular iron-on vinyl, it could be glitter iron-on. I'm going to be using some glitter iron-on today. Or it could be infusible ink transfer sheets. And if you're not familiar with infusible ink, I'm going to show you a couple examples, and we're going to talk a lot about infusible ink as well. But again, part 2 is where your machine takes over and now cuts out your design using some type of iron-on material. Once that portion, the cut portion is cut out, you're then going to move on to part 3. Before I move on to part 3, though, Nadia has a great question. I keep hearing the term SVG. What is it? When is it used or best used? And I know Katie's typing a response to you. So Katie, you can keep typing that response, but I thought it was an important question to just mention. When you're uploading a design, or maybe you're purchasing a design from somewhere, the most common design format will be SVG, right? So when you're uploading into Cricut, you can upload SVG, you could upload a PDF. We're all familiar with PDFs, right? It's probably one that we see a lot. A JPEG, of course, right? Which is mostly associated with photos. You can upload a JPEG photo as well. So there's different types of files you can upload. The most common that you're going to upload into your Cricut design space will be SVG. If you don't have SVG, and again, it's a PDF or it's a JPEG, it will still work. That is the most common type of format that will be used for you. So that's a great question. And again, I know Katie will be giving you even more info on that. I just wanted to point that out because that's something I think everyone that's not familiar with it can know a little bit more about that SVG term. So the cutting process is all complete. So step 3 is going to be all about putting it together, assembling it, right? So after cutting out your design, it's time to apply heat to your project, right? And the heat portion applies to iron-on. If you're working with cards, you're going to glue all of your card pieces together. Well, with iron-on, you're going to apply some kind of heat to it, whether you're using a heat press, like you see in this image right here, or you're going to use your household iron. You need some kind of heating element to be able to heat up the iron-on so it will stick and be a part of the blank t-shirt that you're going to be using. So again, just 3 easy steps when it comes to creating a design, creating an iron-on design. Step 1, it's all about the design portion, coming up with what you want it to look like. Step 2 is setting it to your machine and having your machine cut out that design. And then of course, step 3 is turning on some kind of heating device and heating up your project, essentially assembling it, putting it all together. So when it comes to working in iron-on, and today's project, for example, this is a supply list we would use, right? So again, if you're joining us and you notice you don't have all these supplies, you're going to get the recording, so you could always watch it back once you get the supplies you might need. So don't be discouraged if you notice you're missing something. But when it comes to supplies, of course, you need some type of iron-on material. And for that "Hello, my name is awesome" t-shirt, I'm going to be using 2 colors. I'm actually going to be using a red iron-on and then a gold glitter iron-on. So 2 colors, and we're going to be talking lots about different types of materials you can use. So 2 color iron-on vinyls. You need some tools. You need your standard grip mat, that's your green mat. You need a weeding tool to weed away any of the excess vinyl that you're not going to be using. And then of course you need to bring on the heat. You need some kind of heating apparatus. So I'm going to be using my Easy Press 3, which is indicated right here in the photo. And I'm also going to have an Easy Press mat underneath, right? So I will have my Easy Press mat that I'm going to place my t-shirt on top of. You need some kind of barrier between your t-shirt and whatever you're using as a surface, right? Whether it's your crafting table, your kitchen table, whatever you're using, you need some kind of barrier to protect your surface. And then of course, it's also going to protect your t-shirt as well. So I'm using an Easy Press mat, but if you don't have a mat, you could just use a towel, right? Before I was using a mat, I would just put a towel down to make sure that I was protecting my surface. So again, 3 items that you really need: your material, your tools, and you need some kind of heating element that you're going to be applying to your t-shirt. So it sounds simple, right? And if it isn't, we're gonna talk more about it to make it sound a little bit more simple for you. So let's explore the options. So when it comes to iron-on material, there's tons of different types of iron-on material. And you'll see here in this slide some examples. So some of the examples of the different types of iron-on: there's express iron-on, there's your everyday, which is probably the one that you'll come across the most, you'll probably use the most as your everyday iron-on. Then you've got these really fun ones like a mosaic. You have your mesh iron-on or your sports flex. So if I look over here at these photos, I have this jersey right here that says Big Shots, and then I have this star. That's our mesh and our sports flex, right? And that type of material is made specifically for a t-shirt or a jersey, some kind of clothing item that needs to be able to move, to stretch, right? So think about like a jersey or yoga pants. You need to be able to move in them, and they need to move as you're moving. So in that case, you would want to use like a sports flex, something that's going to move with you on that clothing. So it's the best type of iron-on material that you would need. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that. There's patterns, of course. You've got your holographic, like right here, down right, I have this fun rocket ship with the moon, a fun holographic type iron-on. And you've got your foil and your glitter, right? And here's this mermaid, and the top left corner, this fun foil pattern. So lots of different types of iron-on materials that you can use. And I'm sure that when you go to your local craft store, you see all of them and you go, what can I make with that, right? This is what always happens to us. So let's talk a little bit about the Cricut everyday iron-on material, which again, I say is the most common one that you're going to be using. Just some fun facts about it. So the Cricut everyday iron-on material, it outlasts 50 plus washes, right? So you can wash it 50 plus times, and it's going to maintain that material, that design, right? It has a strong bond guarantee. You can layer up to 3 colors for some really standout projects. So you can layer up to 3 colors with that everyday iron-on. It has excellent results on the widest variety of materials and projects. It cuts beautifully and weeds easily. And if you've never worked with iron-on and you're used to working with like the regular vinyl, it is a different texture when it comes to weeding it. So you'll get to see that in action when I start putting the project together. Everyday iron-on is also works on all your Cricut cutting machines. So it's going to work on all your Cricut cutting machines as well. I mentioned Sports Flex a little bit. So there's that Big Shots jersey. So the Sports Flex iron-on, it's specifically made for polyester and nylon activewear. And again, so it stretches and flexes, right? So it's going to stretch and flex with your yoga pants, your jerseys, anything that needs to move. You're going to use that iron-on flex. Of course, you could use the other kind, but that's going to give you the best results, and it's going to outlast, and you're going to have it a lot longer if you're using that Sports Flex. If you're working with something like, a jersey or yoga pants or any kind of polyester nylon activewear. Smart materials. So if you have a Maker 3, an Explorer 3, even a Cricut Joy, you know that it can use smart materials. So, and I actually have here, I'm going to be using Smart Iron-On. Both my Smart Iron-On and my Smart Iron-On glitter are both considered smart materials. So what makes them smart? So they work without a cutting mat. You see in this image right here, this maker right here. So that's smart materials being fed into the machine without a cutting mat. The reason why is because the smart materials are a little bit thicker. They have a built-in essential protective sheet underneath that pretty much can serve as a mat, right? So it works without a cutting mat. You just load and go. It also cuts beautifully and it weeds easily. Again, you're going to use it with your Explore 3, your Maker 3, your Cricut Joy. However, you can use smart materials if you do not have one of those machines. So if you have an Explore 1 or an Air 2, you could still use it. What you need to do is you need to cut it down according to how much you need, and you're going to place it on a mat. So I'm working with the Maker 3, which works with smart materials. However, I'm still going to cut it down and I'm going to place it on a mat. So you can see me using the smart materials and actually placing it on a mat as well. So again, you could still purchase them and you could still use them. It just means that you have to place them on a mat unless you want to be able to, unless you have that machine that uses smart materials. I tend to always put it on a mat. It's just, I'm just used to that. Unless I'm working on something that's a really long project, sometimes just feeding it in makes it a lot easier and it's a continuous cut instead of having to cut it down and stop it. And you know, if I'm doing a longer design, feeding it through actually makes it a lot easier. So those are your smart iron-on materials. Then we have Cricut's infusible ink, which I love. And if you haven't worked with infusible ink, it's not only sheets, it also is pens as well. So there's solid colored pens. So you can actually draw some fun images with the infusible ink pens and then be able to place that on a t-shirt or a tote bag or a coaster, right? And then of course it's got pattern sheets and it has solid sheets as well, which are all indicated here in all these different photos right here, okay? If you're working with infusible ink, where you place it, the type of blank that you're using really is important. So if you were to put infusible ink on like a cotton t-shirt, like a 100% cotton t-shirt, and you go to wash it, it's going to disappear. So the higher the polyester count, the better, right? So, and I believe it's about 70 to 75% at least you want to have of a polyester count. That's really going to give you the best results. Now, these Cricut t-shirts, and you see one in the middle of my slide right here, and that's actually the ones that I'm going to be using today. These have a 95% polyester count. And again, the higher the polyester count, the more vibrant the design is, the brighter it is, and the longer it's going to last, right? Again, if you work with 100% cotton, it's going to wash out once you wash that shirt. But these Cricut blank t-shirts are really great, and they even have right on the middle say, compatible with infusible ink. So again, the higher the polyester count, the better. When you're working with infusible ink, right? If you're working with iron-on, you can use your cotton t-shirts, of course, okay? So when it comes to infusible ink, there are a couple different steps that are unique to it. And again, they're different from when you're working with iron-on. So one thing you want to do, and you do this actually for both iron-on and infusible ink, is you always want to mirror your image before cutting it out. And what I mean by that is that's a step before your machine starts cutting it out on that prepare screen, which you'll get to see once I go in live. And the reason why you're mirroring is you want to flip your image around to make sure your machine is cutting it as a mirrored image. So when you flip it over right side up and you place it on the blank, that's how you want it to be placed once you're applying any kind of heat to it. You don't mirror the image. It's going to be upside down once you are done with your project. With infusible ink, you always want to place cardstock between your t-shirt layers. And the reason for that is because you're protecting the ink from bleeding through to the other side of your t-shirt. So just by putting a piece of cardstock will allow you that protection. You want to use a lint brush on your t-shirt. because again, even a teeny tiny little speck of dust will affect your design. I actually use a lint brush, even if I'm not working with infusible ink, just iron on. It's just a great tool to have. I use it for multiple different, it's a different tool for multiple items in my craft room. And it just makes it easier just by really passing that lint brush on whatever surface you're working on. You want to place your design face down and cover it with butcher paper. Now, whenever you get infusible ink from Cricut, it's going to include some butcher paper with your pattern sheet as well. Okay. If you want to purchase more, they actually do sell more butcher paper. You want to avoid using like a Teflon sheet, anything that has a coating to it, because again, you're going to apply heat to it. And once you apply heat, that coating, that residue is going to activate right onto your design. So that's why butcher paper is the best option. And then of course, you're going to use an easy press to apply the heat to your design. Again, if you don't have an easy press, your household iron, the easy press will give you the best results. And the reason why for that is because of its size, right? It's a square, it's giving you even heat, right? You're pressing down, you're getting even heat throughout your entire design, where an iron, think about the shape of it and how you're going to have to press in different areas to give you a consistent application to that design. Okay. So again, we do not work with infusible ink in this class, but I do want to mention it because it is very, very popular. And actually, I do have two examples here. So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for a second so you can see. So I have this fun, good vibes only little cosmetic bag or little tote bag. This is infusible ink. The big difference between infusible ink and iron-on, infusible ink, it becomes part of the material. It's embedded in that material, right? If I was to just touch this little tote bag right here, there's no texture to it. It is part of the material. Another thing too, with this little baby onesie, it really, like, if I was to stretch the t-shirt out, it really just goes with it because it's again, it's a part of that material. Okay, so that is the big difference when it comes to working with infusible ink versus working with iron-on. Okay, all right, so I'm going to go back to my slide presentation here, and we're going to keep moving along. So easy presses, and in particular the Easy Press 3, which is what I'm going to be working with for today's workshop. You know, again, what's really great about them is they're applying even heat to your design, to your project that you're working on. The Easy Press 3 is Bluetooth compatible. So you're going to get fast, foolproof heat transfer results even after those repeated washes with an easy press. And again, with the Bluetooth capability, it has its own app, right? So you can download the Easy Press Heat Guide app. And what it does is it allows you to select the type of project you're going to make, what material you're using. It's going to give you a step-by-step of each process that you need to do, right? It's going to show you graphics, there's going to be videos, additional help information is going to be in there, and it's going to tell you your heat setting, and then it sends it via Bluetooth to your heat press. So once you click to send it, it's going to automatically set your heat press, and once it's ready, it will beep, and you now have sent your settings via Bluetooth. Now, if you do not have an Easy Press 3 that's Bluetooth compatible, you can still download this heat guide because it's going to give you all of this information. It's going to give you the tips. It's going to give you the temperature setting, and then you could just manually set it on your Easy Press. Maybe you have the Easy Press 2, right? So you can still download this heat guide. It really, really is wonderful, and it really comes in handy. So again, you will get to see that heat guide in action in just a little bit. Now, for those of you who do not have a heat press and you're using your household iron, I want to just give you some tips, right? Because it is a little bit different, and I want you to be able to really get results that you're going to be happy with. So if you're working with a household iron and you're using that everyday iron-on material, you want to make sure that you have the cotton linen setting set. The cotton linen setting tends to be the highest temperature setting. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have that highest temperature setting. You want to be able to preheat the application area of your base material for 10 to 15 seconds. So before you put anything down, preheat, let's say your t-shirt for 10 to 15 seconds, and you're preheating the area that you're going to place your design on. Then you will place your weighted image liner side up onto the preheated material. Okay, and if you're wondering which side is the liner side, which side is the actual vinyl, you're going to see that in action in just a little bit. You then want to cover with a Teflon sheet or an ironing cloth, right? So you want to put some kind of coverage on top of it. Okay, that's going to be a little different from what you see when I'm using the Easy Press. This is really for your household iron. So you want to cover it with a Teflon sheet or an ironing cloth. You then want to apply medium pressure with, okay, and it's medium pressure. You're not going to be moving it around, right? You want to really press down, give it some medium pressure for 25 to 30 seconds. And then you would flip the material over and apply medium pressure with the iron to the back of the material for an additional 10 to 15 seconds. And just what you're doing is by flipping it to the back of the material is you're just really setting in that heat so that iron-on is really staying on that t-shirt, okay? So, feel free. This is a great slide if you're working with a household iron. Take a photo of it, do a screenshot of it. Again, you are getting today's recording, so you do have it to fall back on if you need to review any of this information, okay? So when it comes to working with t-shirts, one question that comes up a lot is, how do I know what size to make my design, right? And it really depends on how big your t-shirt is, right? And it also depends on the type of design you're going to be making. So we've put together this decal size chart. This was created by one of our other coaches, Coach Kesley. And we actually, thank you, Christine. Christine just put in the chat a link to this graphic. So if you go to the chat, you can click on that link and you will have this graphic, because this is something that's great to print out to have available when you're working with t-shirt designs, because again, it's giving you a guide of how big you need to make your design, right? So I'm going to be doing, I showed this before, I'm going to be working with a large men's t-shirt, right? For my Hello, my name is awesome design. So immediately I look at this chart and I go, okay, adult size chart, large. So large to extra large, it says 10.5 inches. Okay, so that's a guide right away. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to show you a couple other tips that I do when I'm deciding how big to make my image. And it's usually just taking your ruler and deciding, okay, take your ruler and see 10.5 inches is going to look like this placed on my t-shirt, and then I can go from there. Because another thing you want to keep in mind is when someone puts it on, you don't want the t-shirt to be so wide that it's hidden by, it's too wide across, and the design is not showcased, right? So this size chart is a great starting point, but then you could always modify it, right? You might notice 10.5 inches for a large t-shirt. You know what? I think it needs to be 10 inches. Or you know what? I think I can make it a little bit bigger. I still recommend getting out a ruler and doing that before designing your t-shirt. So you really go in knowing how big you want to make your design. Another general guideline for your decal size in terms of like where to place it is the 2 to 3 finger rule. So you take two to three fingers from the neckline. Okay, and actually let me stop sharing my screen for a second so I can show you what I'm talking about here. So here's my hello, my name is Awesome. I changed Awesome to my name, which I'm going to show you what to do. So in terms of placement, two to three fingers from the neckline, right, is going to give me a sense of where I'm going to place my t-shirt. It might be 2 fingers depending on the design, the type of design that I'm doing for my t-shirt. Another thing too is I have this handy dandy little t-shirt ruler that again was created by Kesley, and we're going to share a link to this project too, because what's great about this is you can create this with your Cricut. It's just a piece of cardstock and a Cricut marker, and you can create a fun little guide, because what this does too is you take it, you line it up with the collar, and that's going to give you where to place your design as well. So you have that available to you. But again, just the 2 to 3 finger rule works as well. Okay, so you're going to see this in action, and we're going to share a link to this project. So if you want to make this, you totally can. Now, there are t-shirt rulers out there that you can purchase. So that's really up to you. I'm sure if you go to your local craft store, you'll be able to see those. But I did want to just share some other ways, some other tips, some cost-effective ways, right? Using what you already have to be able to find out how to create the perfect size decal for your t-shirt. Okay. So speaking of t-shirts, this is our project that we're going to be creating. Hello, my name is Awesome. And again, this is a ready-to-make project. So in just a little bit, I'm going to show you how to search for this project. So don't search for it right now. We're actually going to get to do it together. And what I love about ready-to-make projects is all the information that they provide for you when you open it up, right? So it's going to tell you the finished size. It's going to tell you the size of the image. So let's say you decide, you know what? I want that size. I'm not going to change anything. You can come down to the bottom and click on the Make It button. Especially if you're new to working with iron-on and you're just unsure of how to get started and you just want to make something, go ahead and click on that Make It button. And again, the finished size is what will be created for you. Now, if you need to modify it, change the color, change the name, that's where you're going to click on the Customize button at the bottom of your screen. But again, these ready-to-make projects, it gives you step-by-step directions. It shows you all the materials you need, everything else you need. There's additional help articles. It's going to show you the images and the fonts that are used in that project. So if you want to use them for another project, you have all of that information. So I love ready-to-make projects. They are just so convenient, so wonderful. So in just a little bit, we are going to look for this particular project. But let's say I decided to add it onto my canvas. So I would click on the Customize button. So this is what it would look like. So it would add the design onto my canvas, and then it allows me to modify it, right? So I'm going to change the color of it, and I'm going to change the name. So let's pretend like I did all that, and then this is my result right here. Changing the color, and then in this case, in this slide, changing it to the word coach instead of awesome, right? So I'm going to show you how to resize it, how to change the color of it, and of course, change the text as well. So we're going to get to do that in just a little bit. Now, once you click on that Make It button, you're going to come to your Prepare screen, which is going to show you exactly where to place your materials. And this screen right here is, important. You want to make sure that all of your settings are all squared away before clicking on that Make It button. And one setting that is super, super important when it comes to iron-on is the mirror setting. So I'm going to go back. If I go back, you see coach right here. You can read it. Now, over on the left-hand side, there's the mirror option. If I was to turn it on, it's going to flip my image around, right? Very, very important when working with iron-on. You want to make sure that you click on that mirror option right there, okay? And believe me, we've all made that mistake of forgetting, and you probably will forget once, and it's totally fine. But again, you just want to make sure that you get in the habit of really checking all of your settings on this prepare screen. And again, when you're working with iron-on, making sure that that mirror option is all squared away. So now I know that it's all set. I can click on that make it button and my machine is going to cut it out properly. Plus, once you select that mirror option and you click on the continue button to the next screen, it's going to ask you. It's going to, remind you, especially when you pick an iron-on material, have you turned on mirror, right? It's going to ask you that question to make sure that you are using that mirror option, because you don't want to waste materials. It will happen. It happens to all of us, but we want to make sure that it only happens once, right? So that's pretty much how creating an iron-on t-shirt is going to work, right? Again, those 3 steps of design, cut, and assemble. Materials, you're going to use some type of iron-on material. You're going to have, of course, your weeding tool and your mat, and then you're going to apply some kind of heating device to it, whether it's a heat press or your household iron. So let's get to it. But before we do that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second here. Before we do that, though, Katie, is there any questions that came up that we just want to mention to folks? Maybe it's something that's important to everyone to hear.
Hi, Coach. Some information I'll give, since there was some questions about it, is in regards to butcher paper. So with infusible ink, you want butcher paper, white, unwaxed, unbleached, uncoated. And the reason you want butcher paper is because infusible ink becomes a gas when it's heated, and that's going to be absorbed into the butcher paper. Parchment paper has a silicone lining, as does Teflon, and that can't capture that gas that's being emitted. So it's going to stay on there. And if you try to use it again, because both of those are reusable, it's going to press onto your next design, which you don't want. So you use butcher paper, and it's a one-time use. So after you use it, just toss it away. And you want to make sure that you're using polyester. Infusible ink only bonds with polyester fibers or polymer coating. So Coach is going to show us tonight, but we have Cricut has several different compatible blanks, and they all say infusible ink compatible because they are polyester or they have that polymer coating. And you want, Mercy's asking, does it have to be a plain t-shirt? What about a pattern shirt? So it has to be polyester. Cricut recommends no less than 75%, but I've done 65% and it's okay. And it's got to be white or light colored. The thing about infusible ink is it's essentially a dye. So what's happening is you're pressing it into those fibers. It's not going to sit like on top like your HTV does. It's actually bonding with those polyester and polymer fibers. So you want light colors or white. Cricut does make white shirts, and they have some lighter grayish ones, but as long as it's a polyester shirt, you can use it. Think about it like using a marker on construction paper, like coloring on that. Obviously, if you're using a marker on like black construction paper, you're not going to see it. You want that lighter color. So I know like I have like an aqua shirt that I've done, but keep in mind, again, if you're using colors, it's dyeing it. So it might change that look of your infusible ink because it's dyeing those 2 colors together. Can you use a variety of vinyl for the same project? Example, Sportflex, Strong Bond, or Cricut Iron-On. So Sportflex is only for polyester, nylon, and gosh, I can't think of the other one. Like think like a drink koozie where it's begins with a P. I can't think of it. But so if your garment is that kind, yes, the only thing I keep in mind, like I have the heat guide, I'll pull it up, it's bookmarked on my phone. So like if I'm at the store or whatever, I'll pull it up and just make sure like are the times and the temperatures compatible. I try not to veer too much from compatible temperatures because you don't want to burn anything. But Coach is going to show us 2 different materials and 2 different temperatures today. So he's going to give you some tips on that. But you always want to do the higher temp first. So you can mix as long as it's compatible. And if you're not sure, if you go to the Cricut heat guide, you tap your press and then you tap your material. And then when you go to your blank, it will only show you compatible materials. So like if I go to the heat guide right now, Christine just dropped the link in the chat. If I pull up Sport Flex, and we'll get the name of the other one that I can't remember. Neoprene was not a P. Corkboard, neoprene, nylon, and polyester. So and it's got the Cricut bodysuit, cosmetic bag, pillow cover, t-shirt, and wine bag, because those all have polyester. But it's not going to show you any other materials because they're not compatible with that. So if you're ever unsure, just pull up that heat guide. That's what I do all the time. And yes, you do not want to use fabric softener because that will cause issues with the iron-on adhering.
Great. So Katie, I actually grabbed a box of our infusible ink. So for those of you that haven't worked with infusible ink, again, if you're buying these are the pattern sheets, right? If you remember from the presentation, there's also the pens. But what I love about the pattern sheets, when you open it, it comes with butcher paper. So it's giving you the butcher paper. When you get it, it's going to be in this tube with this black plastic around it. This black plastic is very important. So when you don't even use all of it right away, keep this, because this is maintaining any light from coming in. As Katie mentioned, once infusible ink, it becomes a gas, right? Once heat is applied to it. So you want to keep light away from this. It's going to maintain your material. But inside, there's butcher paper. So you have butcher paper that comes with your pattern sheets as well. And another thing to keep in mind too, when you get your pattern sheets, right? So this is, I don't know if you can notice the color, right? It looks like my pattern sheet is like a brown plaid, right? You're going to notice that the colors are muted. There's nothing wrong with your pattern sheets. That's how they are until heat is activated. Once the heat is applied to it, it's going to activate it, and you're going to get this nice, great color. And then, of course, the higher the polyester is going to give you even a better result. So I just wanted to just share those with you. Okay. Continue to ask questions. Again, we are recording today's workshop, so you're able to watch it back. So you have that available to you. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, like it's tons of information, just know that you have that recording available for you. I want to mention another fun little resource for you. Cricut now has these learning kits, and they're available for different types of materials. So this is a learning kit for iron-on. These are really great. I do want to mention they are set to be used with the Maker 3 or an Explore 3. And the reason for that is because it's smart materials that they are sending you. But remember what I said, you can still use smart materials. You just have to put them on a mat if you don't have those machines. It also comes with an online guided lesson. So you're getting lessons with it. But I do want to mention that this is currently available only for North America. So North America, and then plus if you have those machines. But again, this is just a great bundle for what comes inside, even if you're not able to use those online lessons. So I just wanted to show you one real quick because I love these. And I just think they're so fun. So when you get it and you open it up, it's going to give you not only materials, but it's going to give you tools too. So you open it and you immediately get a quick start guide. Here's a weeding tool. If you don't have a weeding tool, it's sending you a weeding tool. So you're getting a tool with it. And then underneath, you're going to have all of your materials. And it's also going to include a materials cheat sheet guide for beginners. This is really great because this is going to show you the type of material you're using, what is it great for, essential tools and accessories. I mean, it's giving you all of that information. And then here, look, a nice little canvas tote bag that you can use to apply some smart iron-on on it. You have all of your materials right in here. There's some glitter in there. So these are really fun to use. And again, if you don't have a machine that uses smart materials, it just means you're going to be cutting it down and putting it on a mat, okay? So I just wanted to mention those real quick, okay? All right, so we're gonna move into part two, putting our t-shirt design together. So if you are going to be designing with me, you wanna make sure that you've turned on your machine, and of course you have Design Space open just in case you don't have any updates or anything like that.
Hey, Coach.
Yes.
We did have somebody ask about the Explorer Air 2 being compatible with Infusible ink. And I just want to let everyone know that Infusible ink is compatible with both the Joy machines, the Explorer machines, the Maker machines, and Cricut Venture. And keep in mind that the pens and markers, the Joy and the Joy Extra have their own line of markers. And then the Explorer, Maker machines, and Venture use a separate line if you choose to buy those.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Katie. All right, so before I jump into the design, I want to know how big I'm going to make my decal, okay? So I'm actually going to switch over to my overhead so I can use my ruler and decide how big I need to make my design, okay? So before I measure my my t-shirt blank, I want to show you this design first. So this is actually an adult small, and I'm going to take my ruler just to get a sense of how big it is. So this adult small design is about 8.5 inches. Okay, and that's the width. In terms of height, I'm not going to be worried too much about the height because my height will be adjusted according to when I change my width. It's going to automatically adjust it. Okay, so that's 8.5 for a small. I'm going to be working with a large right now. Okay, so I'm going to take my large t-shirt, and again, I'm using the Cricut blank t-shirts. These are the 95% polyester. I really like working with them. They really give me some amazing results. So I love working with these. So again, this one is a large. So, and according to my chart, a large t-shirt, my design should be about 10.5 inches. So I'm going to take my t-shirt, take my ruler, and see if that's what I want to go with. So here's my t-shirt. I'm going to take my ruler to get a sense of 10.5 inches. So there's 10.5 inches right there. So that's how big my design would be, right? So I take my ruler, 10.5 inches, and that's giving me a sense of how big my design would be, which, looking at my t-shirt, I think that might work. Another rule of thumb is I like to go about 2 inches in from where the sleeves end, right? So let me just move this up so you can see it. So here's the end of the sleeve right here. I like to go in about 2 inches into the center to know where I want to start placing my design. So looking at that, that's about 2 inches right there, right? So if I place my ruler there and I go 10.5, that's about right. I mean, it's giving me more than 2 inches on this side. So that means I'm just going to have to center my design. But in terms of 10.5 inches being wide enough for a large adult male t-shirt, I think it's going to work. And again, I'm using that guide, that decal shirt guide, as an option. If I wanted to do 11 inches, I think 11 inches would work too. So I recommend using that decal t-shirt guide as a starting point, and then taking your ruler and actually seeing with your ruler how big that design is going to be on your t-shirt. Okay. And then again, when it's time to place my design and make sure that it's centered, I'm going to take my little handy dandy t-shirt ruler made on my Cricut. It's going to line up with my collar. And I have this center line, which is going to show me where to place my design. Okay. If I didn't have this, I would do the 2 to 3 finger rule. Okay. Now, where do you find center? I use the tag of the shirt. Or if there isn't a tag, wherever they imprint the size, I use that as my center point, because that's going to be the center of your t-shirt. And then I would just move down to where the collar starts and do the 2 to 3 finger rule. That's if I don't have anything. But again, just having my little t-shirt guide allows me to know exactly where to place the center, where the center is and where I'm going to place my design. Okay. So I do this before going into design space, right? I want to see how big my design is going to be. So I'm working with 10.5 inches for my design. Okay. So now that I have that all squared away, I'm going to come back to my computer here, and now I'm going to share my screen and open up design space. Okay. All right, so I'm going to share my screen. And this time open up design space. Okay, so here I am on the home screen. If you haven't taken 101 and you want some more assistance with getting started, we spent a lot of time talking about the home screen and all of the wonderful resources that are available to you. So, you know, feel free to sign up for those classes as well. And I know that Katie and Christine will put links in the chat for any upcoming classes we do have coming up. All right, so looking for our Hello, My Name is Awesome t-shirt, okay? So 2 ways we're going to show you how to look for this project. We're going to search for it, and then we're going to give you a direct link to the project. So if you're having a hard time finding it, you are going to get a direct link to that project. Okay, so just know you will get a direct link. But first, I want you to try to search for it following what I'm going to do. So I'm here on the home screen. Now at the top of the home screen, our header bar, we have this search box right here. In the search box, you can search for images, projects, profiles. So I'm going to type in, hello, my name is awesome t-shirt. And when I write t-shirt, I do the dash, so t-shirt. And immediately it's going to give me over 90,000 results. If that number is different for you, don't worry about the number. All I know is it's going to give me a ton of different results, and it's going to break it down into categories. So first, it's going to show me images. Next, it's going to show me projects. And it's the first one that is listed, right? So it's the first project that's listed. It says, hello, my name is awesome. If I click on it, I get this pop-up screen here, just like you saw on the slide, right? And again, this pop-up screen, it's giving me all of the information I need, a description, all the materials I need. It even gives me a shop now link if I want to get any of these materials, step-by-step directions, more help section. It's showing me the image and the font that's used. So there's tons and tons of information here. So then, of course, I have 2 options. I could click on the Make It button. If I click on Make It, it's going to immediately connect to my machine and start the step 2 process of cutting it out. Or I could click on Customize and make some changes to it, okay? But let me show you how to search for it that way just one more time, and then we're gonna send you the link. Actually, the link is already in the chat. Thank you, Christine. But don't click on the link just yet. I want you to try to search for it before you decide to click on that link. So again, in the search bar on the home screen, we're going to type in, hello, my name is Awesome T-shirt. Okay. And it should pop there. It should be the first project under the projects category. Okay. If you're having a hard time finding it just by doing the search, if you go into our chat, you'll see that Christine has put a link there. It'll say, hello, my name is Awesome T-shirt. There's a link there. You want to click on that link and it's going to open it up. It might ask you to accept before you can actually customize it or make it, but you can go ahead and click on that link and it'll take you exactly there. Okay, so those are two ways to look for this project. So once you have it, you want to have this pop-up screen available to you before you click on to customize or to make it, right? So I'm going to be clicking on the customize option, but again, if you want to make it, just make it and not do anything to it, you can. I just want you to keep in mind at the top of this pop-up screen here, it says finish size. It tells you the size of the iron-on image. So it's approximately 7.5 inches by 5.25 inches. So 7.5 inches wide, which according to my my measurements on my large men's t-shirt, I need it to be a little bit bigger. I need it to be 10.5. But let's say I was working with, it could be a small, right? My other small was 8.5, but I probably could work with 7.5, right? So if I'm working with a small t-shirt, I could just click on the make it button. However, I do want to change the color of it. I want to change it to red, and I also want to change the text. So I want to change it to my name. So I'm going to click on that customize option. Okay. So it's going to place it on my canvas right here. Hello, my name is Awesome. And I want to point out a couple things. First, it's 2 layers, right? So if I was to click and move, hello, my name is and Awesome are 2 separate layers. And that is because we're going to be using 2 different colors, right? So for hello, my name is, I'm going to be using Smart Iron-On, my red Smart Iron-On. For my name, I'm going to use the glitter, the gold glitter, okay? So I'm not going to attach any of it because I need my machine to cut them out separately since I'm using 2 different types of materials. I do want to make sure that the sizing is pretty much the same, right? I'm going to size them together. So the name is going to not be too small. It's going to be in proportion with the hello, my name is, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on Awesome, and I want to change it to my name. So I'm just going to click on it, and I'm going to go ahead and type my name. And right now the font is everyday fonts. But I want to go ahead and change the font, right? So if you want to change the font, you would go to fonts, click on it, you get this drop-down menu, and now you can go ahead and search for all different types of fonts you want to use. I actually want to use Cricut Sans, which is the default font that you will usually see when you add text. So in the search box, I'm going to type in Cricut Sans. It's a free font. Again, it's the default font once you add any text to your project. I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and immediately I see that it has changed my font. You can keep the everyday font that was already there before. You want to change it to something else, you can. If you want to do a cursive style font, totally fine. I just wanted to go for more of a block style font for my name, right? So I can change the font right there. I'm going to move it now inside my hello, my name is, just so I can start to see what it's going to look like. Whenever I'm creating, I like to change the colors of everything. I want to make sure that I can see what the final product looks like before sending it to my machine, right? A lot of times folks will say, do I really need to change the color if I'm going to be placing whatever color vinyl I place on the mat? And I say yes, because you want to visualize what it's going to look like before sending it to your machine. That's how you're going to avoid making mistakes. That's how you're going to avoid picking colors that don't work. Plus, when you save this project and you return to it later on, you can see exactly what colors you use. So you get a sense of what you work with, right? If you want to modify it or you want to recreate it once again. Okay. So change my name. I'm going to go ahead and change the color of my name as well. So to change the color, again, I want to make sure that it's selected. I'm going to come up to my edit bar, right? And whenever you add text, there's always two edit bars. The first edit bar, which is right below your header bar, right? That's your main edit bar. Over on the left-hand side, you have operation. Right next to operation, there's a little square that's like a dark gray color. It's going to be the color of whatever your item that you've selected is at the time. So it's a dark gray right now. If I click on it, it allows me to change the material color. So my name is going to be my gold glitter. So I want to go ahead and select a color that's going to be very similar to my gold glitter. Okay. And again, because I really want to visualize what my final project is going to look like. Okay. And again, if you're unfamiliar with using, of changing colors or working with operation, go ahead and sign up for our 101 and our 102 class, because we really spend time working on all the different tools and elements of Design Space. So if you need a little refresher, go ahead and sign up for it. All right, so my name is now changed. So I'm now going to click on my hello, my name is, which is now white, and I'm going to be working with this fun red. So I want to go ahead and change the color of it. So just like the name, I'm going to come up to the edit bar. Over on the left-hand side, right where it says operation, there's a white box, right? Because that's the current color of my hello, my name is. I'm going to go ahead and click on it, and I'm going to select red. So now I have the two colors that I'm going to work with, right? And just for fun, I'm going to move my name inside of it. I still have to resize the whole thing, right? But again, throughout when I'm creating, I like to put my elements together just to see how that final project is coming along, right? So, and I'm go ahead and place my name, right? So now I have changed the colors and I've changed the text. I now want to make it a little bit bigger. When I click on hello, my name is, again, it's about 7.5 inches, 7.5 inches wide, right? And that's what that finished project image was listed, right? When I clicked on the ready to make project. So I need to make it a little bit bigger. I need to make it 10.5 inches, okay? As I'm making this, the hello, my name is bigger, I want to make my name bigger as well. So I actually want to make the two of them bigger together, right? That's going to make it easier, keep it in proportion as I'm resizing those two together. So what I'm going to do is I want to select both hello, my name is and my name. So to select both of them, I'm going to click anywhere on my canvas, and I'm just going to draw a box and just hover over the two items. And that's going to allow me to select both of them. How do I also know they're both selected? If I come over to the layers panel on the right-hand side, they both have that minty green. Oh, I actually deselected them there. Now they both have that minty green right there. So I know that they're both selected. So now that they're both selected, I can go ahead and make this bigger. Okay. And I'm going to manually resize it. To manually resize something, once it's selected, you just go to any corner of that image and you get this up and down arrow, and you just click and drag and see how it's making it bigger, both items, because they're both selected. And as I'm dragging it slowly, I can see the size getting bigger or smaller if I wanted to. So I'm just going to keep making it bigger until I get to 10.5 inches. So like 10.49. If I wanted to put in exact dimensions, I could come up to the edit bar, look for the size option, right? And right in the width, because again, the height will automatically resize. I could type in 10.5. All right, and it slightly made an adjustment for me. Okay, so if you notice you're doing the manual resize and you want to just go ahead and just type in the size in the edit bar, it's a quick little step that you can do, right? So now I have now resized it. So this is now the size that I want it to be on my t-shirt. I'm pretty much done with my design. And remember, there's still 2 separate layers because my machine is going to cut out each item separately. I do not need to center this or align this on the canvas because it's going to be 2 separate colors that are cut out. So I'm going to have to manually center it once I place it on my t-shirt, right? But I'm essentially done with my design. So now all I need to do is click on that Make It button. Before I do that, if I want to save this project and you haven't saved anything yet, you're going to come up to your header bar over on the right-hand side, right next to where it says My Stuff, you'll have your Save button. You click on that, and you'll notice that the Save option is ghosted out its grade. The reason for that is because this is a ready-to-make project that already has a name, right? So if you want to save it and you want to change the name of it, of course, you want to click on the Save As. The Save As will bring up the save option. It will add a 1 to it, and that's just a default setting. So I could keep it at the way that it's listed as hello, my name is awesome shirt with the 1, or I can go ahead and type in a new title for it. Hello, my name is Danny t-shirt, right? So you can go ahead and change the name of it and then click on save. And it's going to save it. And now at the top, the header bar has that new title that I've selected for it. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and click on the Make It button, and it's going to start connecting to my machine. And again, since I'm using a Maker 3, it's going to ask me if I'm using a mat, because again, if I'm working with Smart Materials, I do not need to use a mat. However, I am working with Smart Materials, but I'm still going to put it on a mat. So I'm going to go ahead and click on a mat, click confirm. And here I am at my prepare screen. Super, super important, right? So I have my 2 mats. I have my red mat here is representing hello, my name is. And as you know, I'm using the standard mat, which is green, but on your prepare screen, it's going to take on whatever color your image is. And that's just helping you to know where the images are according to which mat it's on. So my first mat, hello, my name is. My second one has my name, right? That's going to be my gold glitter. I'm going to go back to my first mat. In terms of settings, I'm going to load it on a mat, material size. It's going to be smaller than 12 by 12, right? I'm going to cut it down, but I'm still working with a 12 by 12 size mat. So I'm going to leave that alone. Underneath it though, there's the mirror option. I want to go ahead and click on mirror. I want to make sure that I mirror that option. I want to flip it around, right? Very, very important. Okay. Once I do that to the first one, I have to click on my second mat and make sure all the settings are squared away. So once again, I click on my second mat, material load type on a mat, material size 12 by 12, click on the mirror option. So if you have multiple mats and they all need to be mirrored, you got to make sure that you go through each one before clicking on that continue button, right? So now that both are squared away, I come down to the bottom right, click on continue, and I start connecting to my machine. It's connecting via USB. So now I'm going to set my base material, right? So my base material, I'm working with two different materials. I'm working with my red iron-on, and then I'm working with glitter. Glitter is a textured material, right? So you want to make sure that you select iron-on glitter because your machine is going to have to work a little bit harder cutting out that glitter, right? So to select my materials, you notice I have some that already are bookmarked here, and I actually have these last two here, Smart Iron-On Glitter and Smart Iron-On. Those are the two materials I'm going to be using, right? But I'm going to go ahead and click on Browse All Materials right here, just to show you another way of browsing all your materials, right? So when you click on that Browse All Materials, it's going to show you every type of material that you can use on your machine. And yes, depending on what machine you have, depends on what's listed, right? So I'm working with the Maker 3, so it's going to list a lot more materials than you would see if you're working with a Cricut Joy, for example, right? So I could scroll through the different types of materials. I could also come over to where it has this all categories drop down and go ahead and select iron-on, right? That's an option. And all of a sudden it now lists all the different types of iron-on materials. And I'm going to scroll down and I see glitter iron-on, but again, I'm working with smart glitter iron-on, and that's a separate material. So I'm going to go ahead and keep scrolling down until I get to smart iron-on or the smart iron-on glitter. So I'm going to select the material for my Hello, My Name Is first, which is the smart iron-on. Click on that, make sure I have a green check mark. If I come over to the right-hand side, see how there's a green bookmark? Because I have bookmarked this. So you can bookmark any of your favorites so you see it on that previous screen and you don't have to browse all materials. I'm going to go ahead and click done. Now, before I move on to step 2, look how there's a little warning. Make sure mirror is turned on and iron-on material is face down. And face down means shiny side. Face down, shiny side, right? So I'm going to show you this a couple of times. Let me actually stop sharing for a second. Here's my red iron-on, right? So here's the shiny side, and then here's the dull side. The dull side, this is the actual vinyl. This is the actual vinyl. This shiny side, this is the protective sheet that's underneath my my vinyl right here, right? But this is the actual vinyl. So you want to make sure that when you're placing it on your mat, the shiny side is down, the dull side is facing up, because your machine is going to cut into this. You're going to weed away any of the excess vinyl, and then you flip it, you place it on your blank t-shirt, and you have this plastic coating here that's actually protecting your vinyl when you place that heat press on top of it, right? So you'll get to see how it looks once I've weeded out the design, but shiny side down, okay? All right. So now, step 2, load your tools and materials. So it's telling me I don't need a tool in clamp A because I'm not doing any kind of writing. Load my fine point blade in clamp B. That's the blade that comes with my machine. It's already in there. So all I need to do now is cut my material, place it on my mat, and then feed it into my machine. So you're going to get to see that in just a second right here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for 1 second. Katie, is there anything we want to just mention real quick before I switch over to my overhead?
I think that we're pretty good, Coach.
All right. Perfect. Okay. All right. So continue to ask those questions. Again, you are getting a recording of today's class, so you have that to watch back. If you have any questions, or maybe you're just watching today, you do have that recording when you decide to create your project. All right. So I'm going to switch over to my overhead here. Okay. So real quick, here is my standard grip mat that I'm going to be using. So I'm just going to get that all squared away there. And again, I'm working with my two materials. So I'm going to cut down my materials using my paper trimmer. Okay. So I'm going to take those materials and place them on my mat. Again, I'm working with Smart Iron-On with smart materials, but I'm still going to place them on a mat. And I'm going to place them exactly how it was listed on the mat, right? So I'm going to go ahead and take my paper trimmer here and cut my material down. Okay. All right. So while I'm cutting down this materials, if you're looking for additional resources and you're not already a part of our Facebook groups, we have some wonderful Facebook groups that you can join. These are they are run by admins like Katie and Christine. So these are Cricut experts that are behind these groups. We have a beginners group. We have our official group, and again, it's a great place to ask questions, get tips, share projects. I mean, we would love for you to share what what you make in this class. Go ahead and show us what you've created. I would love to see those projects as well. They do contests in those groups as well. They give away stuff. Katie, is there any contests coming up, or I think there's like a holiday projects type event?
In the beginner group, we are currently giving away a Cricut Joy Extra and materials bundle. And I know that in the official group, they're giving away 3 of those. Coach Kesley, who also teaches our classes, did a live event in the group last weekend. And there are some projects surrounding that. If you go and join those groups, go to the featured section of each group and you'll see the post with all the details. And then on November 4th, we have Handmade Holidays coming up. And that's where we'll be sharing tons and tons of tutorials. And there will be event challenges and all of that. And everything we'll be providing links to projects and all of that fun stuff.
Oh, I love that. Do you think I can I win a Joy Extra?
Yes, you can actually.
All right, so I cut out my material. Oh, folks are loving that. Lots of heart emojis happening there. We're going to go join those Facebook groups. So I cut my material. So just a quick reminder, here's the dull side, here's the shiny side. So shiny side down, right? So I'm going to place the shiny side down. Make sure it's nice and flat. I like to take my brayer tool and just go right over it to, again, make sure it's nice and flat. It's not going to lift or anything during the cutting process. Okay. So again, that brayer tool really comes in handy for you. All right. So I'm now going to take my mat and just slide it into my machine. Right. And actually, I'm just going to pause it 1 second. Because I actually selected my name and I want to make sure that I'm cutting out the hello, my name is. There we go. So if that happens, before your machine starts cutting, all I did was hit that pause button and then I clicked on the load and unload button and it just spits it right back out. And now I can put it back in. And now it's going to register my design and cut out the right part of my project. So while that's cutting out, I'm now going to take my paper trimmer, and just to show you my paper trimmer, take my paper trimmer. I love the paper trimmer because it has this ruler that pops out so you can really measure what you're going to cut. And I'm going to go ahead and cut my glitter material. Now, when I cut my glitter material and I place it on my mat, I want to make sure that I change my settings. I have to select glitter iron-on, smart glitter iron-on, because again, it is a different texture and it's going to really require that I am selecting that because it is a different type material, right? So I want to make sure that that is selected. All right. So in addition to our Facebook groups, we also have a wonderful YouTube channel. There's hundreds and hundreds of videos that you can check out on our YouTube channel as well. So, you know, if you're interested in learning more about infusible ink, you can go to our YouTube channel. Also, the Cricut Learn site, which is the site that you went to sign up for our class and where you could see the schedule of classes that are coming up. There's videos on there as well. There's these on-demand type classes that you can just watch. They are not live, but they are available to you if you want to learn a new skill like working with the infusible ink, right? So you do have that option available to you. All right, so this is all done. I'm going to go ahead and unload that. I'm going to flip my mat around and I'm going to peel my mat away from my vinyl. So my hello, my name is all, I don't know if you could see it. It's all cut out there, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back over to Design Space. I'm now going to select a new material. So I'm going to show you that real quick. So here I am back in Design Space. So now it's time to cut out my name, right? So there's my name info. So now I have to set my base material. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click one of my presets here that I've bookmarked. I'm going to go ahead and click on Smart Iron-On Glitter, right? Because again, it's more of a texture to it. So you want to make sure you're selecting that. So I go ahead and select that. And once again, it's reminding me, make sure mirror is turned on and then my iron-on material is facing down. The shiny side is down, which it is, okay? So now that that is all squared away, I can now switch back over to my overhead here and place my glitter material, which I've already cut out. So there's the shiny side. I'm going to flip it over. There's the dull side. And I'm going to place that on my mat. And again, I'm placing it exactly how I saw it on the canvas. I'm going to take my brayer tool, just go over it. So it's nice and flat. I'm going to go ahead and just slide that into my machine. Let my machine register that design. And it's going to start cutting it out. Okay. Once that's done cutting, I'm going to take my weeding tool and weed away any of the excess vinyl I don't need. And then we're going to move into the heating portion with the heat press. How are folks doing out there? Are you excited to make some fun t-shirts? Feel free to give me a thumbs up. There we go. I see some thumbs up, some heart emojis. Awesome. Perfect. All right. Again, we are here to help you. So if you have additional questions, feel free to send us an email at makewithus@cricut.com. Feel free to sign up for our other classes. Join those Facebook groups. After you make that t-shirt, go ahead and post a photo in that Facebook group and go, hey, Coach Danny, look at my t-shirt. Give a shout out to Katie and Christine, because we love to see that stuff. And speaking of upcoming classes, Katie just put in the chat as well that link if you'd like to join an upcoming class. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove. And again, I'm peeling my mat away from my vinyl. And before I get rid of my mat, If there's any dust or dirt, I'm going to just wipe it down. I usually just use some warm water and soap, let it air dry, or I'll use a non-alcoholic baby wipe. And then once it's dry, I put my plastic protective screen back on it. If you notice after cleaning it, it's still not sticky, then that's usually when it's time to change your mat, okay? All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start to weed out any of the excess vinyl I don't need. And whenever I do any kind of weeding, this is where my lint brush is going to take on two jobs. Not only am I going to use it on my t-shirt, but I'm also going to use it to get rid of my excess vinyl, right? So just by having it next to me, I can get rid of any excess vinyl that I don't need quick and easy, right? It's not going to stick to everything else in my crafting area, okay? All right, so I'm going to take my weeding tool, here it is, and I'm going to go ahead and start to weed. And again, if you haven't worked with iron-on vinyl, it's a different texture, right? It's actually, it's not as tough as that other vinyl that you're going to put on your tumblers or on journals or anything like that. It has a stretch to it because again, it's going to, once you apply heat to it, so it's kind of stretchy, right? So when you pull it apart, it's a little bit different than when you're used to. So when you're peeling away any excess vinyl, you want to be careful that you're not going to tear into anything that's part of your design. But it is, again, it weeds beautifully. I would say with this project, you want to be careful when you're working with your letters, right? The hello text is big enough that it's not that big of a problem in terms of going a little bit faster. But when I get to the second portion, the my name is part, those are smaller letters. So I want to make sure that I'm not pulling and possibly ripping part of the design, right? So here I'm going with this part right here. Again, I'm going a little bit faster because I'm just used to working with it and for class purposes. But of course, you know, if I was making this for someone and it is a very delicate, small design, I will really just take my time. But you can see that it is really easy to weed. Look at that. Hello, my name is all done, right? So now I can take the same thing with my name, and I actually cut out a little extra on the side. So what I like to do is cut it down. Instead of weeding this and wasting this piece right here, I'm actually just going to cut it off and then I can put it in my scrap pile. So I'm sure we all have a scrap pile and it'll come in handy for some little piece of a project. So this little piece right here, I'm going to put away that I can use later on. So now with the glitter iron-on, it's a lot tougher, right? Because it has more of that texture to it. So you could see how it will tear easily too. So again, you just want to be careful depending on your design. Since I'm working with these block letters and they're big, I know that I'm okay. But if it was like the hello, my name is part, I would probably go a little bit slower. So there we go. And then one last piece right there. And there's my name. Alrighty, so I have my two pieces now ready to be applied to my t-shirt. Okay. So now I'm just going to remove these pieces off of my vinyl, off of my lint brush, and now it's going to take on a second job. Okay, so I have my two pieces all ready to go, just to give you a sense of how it's going to look once it's together. So now I'm going to be able to apply these two onto my t-shirt. Now, in terms of which one do I place first, you want to place the material that has the highest temperature. If you're not sure of what that is, that's when you would go into the heat guide to find out. Since I know ahead of time, glitter is always going to be a higher temperature than the regular iron-on, so I need to place my name first on my t-shirt. But before I do that, I want to now set up my area to be able to handle having some heat on top of it, right? So I mentioned that I'm going to be using an easy press mat. But again, if you don't have an easy press mat, you could just use a towel, something that's going to protect, it's going to protect my self-healing mat, my table underneath, right? So I'm using, this is our largest easy press mat, which I love. So I'm going to go ahead and get that all squared away. And I'm going to grab my t-shirt and place it down. And this is going to be the area that I'm going to be placing my design on. So I'm going to take my lint brush and just go over it and make sure that I'm getting any little pieces of dust or anything that might just appear that you don't really see, right? It's just going to really help. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I'm going to go ahead and bring up my heat guide. So I go ahead and open up my heat app, right? And immediately when you open it, you're going to see, you know, I have my heat press there. There's my Easy Press 3, and there's a button that says Start New Project. So I go ahead and click on Start New Project, and it takes me through different steps. So first, it wants me to select my transfer material. So I click on Transfer Material, and it's going to give me all different options. So what am I going to be using? So I'm using Smart Materials. So I go to the Smart Materials section, and I'm going to click on Iron-On Glitter because, again, that's the highest temperature one. So I need to place that one first. So then once I select that, it's going to say apply it to, what am I applying it to, right? So it's giving me different types of blanks. Since I'm working with the Cricut blanks, that's a category. I go to the Cricut blank section. I'm going to go ahead and click on T-shirt. So now I have Transfer Material, Smart Iron-On Glitter applied to T-shirt. I click on the next button, and there are all my instructions. So again, if you don't have a Bluetooth capable heat press, but there's your instructions, right? So it's telling me that it needs to be 330 degrees. And it's telling me I need to preheat my blank 5 seconds. I need to press for 30 seconds and then do a cool peel, right? It's also telling me what I need. I need my Easy Press 3, my pressing mat. I need an iron-on design and a t-shirt. So I'm going to go ahead and send my settings to my Easy Press. And it's now communicating via Bluetooth to my Easy Press. And at the top, it's actually telling me the current temperature of my Easy Press. It's 310 degrees right now. Once it gets to 330, it's going to beep. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to preheat my blank. But before I do that, oh, and it just beeps, so it looks like it's ready. But before I do that, I want to make sure I have the placement of my design. So I'm going to get my little t-shirt guide here so I know exactly where I'm going to place it. So that's the center. I'm going to go ahead and just, I have this extra right here. I'm going to go ahead and just trim that a little bit because I don't want it to throw off any of my dimensions, even though it's clear. I'm going to go ahead and just do that. So I'm going to place my hello, my name is. The L, the first L, essentially is center, right? Because it's 5 letters. So now my name goes in there, right? However, I'm going to be pressing my name first. So what I do is I'm going to hold my design down, lift up part of the hello, my name is, and place my name underneath. And then I can maneuver it to make sure it's where it needs to be. It's centered, right? And then just by doing that, I can lift both designs together. And I actually can even adjust it once I do that. And I'm going to put this off to the side right now because I want to go ahead and preheat my blank first. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and take my easy press, place it down, and there it says 5 seconds, 330 degrees. I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm just going to preheat it for 5 seconds. Okay. And I'm just going to show you real quick. It immediately goes to the next setting. So 330, 30 seconds, right? Because again, it's communicating via Bluetooth. So now I'm going to take my design and I will always go back to my little t-shirt ruler there that I created. Go ahead. This time I'm going to press my name down, remove this because I'm going to press the name first. Grab my heat press. And I noticed that my design is a little bit, actually, I think it's perfect. I think I'll be okay. If my design was a little bit wider, what I'll do is I'll press it twice. So I'll press one area, then I'll move over and press the other one. I'm going to see how this goes. I think I should be okay. So it's saying medium pressure. I go ahead and click, and I'm going to press down. I'm giving it some nice pressure to it for 30 seconds. Okay. And again, I'm not moving it. You know, we tend to want to do that, you know, as if we were working with an iron, we're ironing our clothes. The pressure, you pressing down on it is makes a huge difference. That's going to help apply that heat to your design. Okay. And then I'm going to lift it up. And it says to do a cool peel. Once it's cool, you want to be able to remove this, right? I still have my mat underneath. I can remove my mat because that has all this heat that's retained in there right now. That's going to help with the cooling process. But of course, because of class, and I'm not done with my project yet, I'm going to leave it there. And I will start to peel it a little bit sooner, but you do want to wait till it's cool because it's still warm. So one, of course, safety, but two, there's still heat that's being applied. It's still helping apply that design onto your canvas. I like to use my tweezers to be able to peel it off, again, just for safety purposes. And it's just, and it looks like it's, there we go. So my name is all squared away. Let me just bring it up so you can see it a little bit better. So now I need to place my hello, my name is, right? And because I've already placed the name, I can use that as a guide to make sure that it's center. But of course, I have my t-shirt ruler as a guide as well. I don't need to preheat or anything because my t-shirt's already been preheated. All I need to do now, though, is come back to my heat guide. And I do have to change the settings of it because now I'm working with a different material. So essentially, I have to go ahead and start a new project. Right? So I select my transfer material. Again, it's going to ask me what type of transfer material I'm using. So what type of material am I using? I go to the Smart Materials section. And I go ahead and I click on Smart Iron On. Oop, I selected glitter. That's not it. Go back. There's always a back arrow you can go to. Smart Iron On, just iron on, because I already worked with the glitter. And then I'm going to go ahead and scroll and apply what type of blank I'm using. So I'm using one of the Cricut blanks. I go ahead and select T-shirt. Right? So now that I have all my settings selected, I hit next, And notice how the temperature is a little bit lower, because again, it's not as high as the glitter. So this one is 315 degrees Fahrenheit. So it does tell me to preheat the blank, but I'm not going to go ahead and do that because I've already done that, right? I don't need to preheat. I don't want to add any extra heat onto that glitter iron on as well. So I'm going to go ahead and send the settings to my Easy Press. And you notice that it's saying preheat blank. You can skip any steps. There's a little skip button. So I'm going to go ahead and click skip. And now it's moved on to part 2. And it's going to set it to 330 degrees. And it'll beep once it's ready. And I'm going to do 30 seconds and I'm going to apply firm pressure. So I'm going to go ahead and wait till I hear that beeping sound. Now, my design is 10.5 inches. My press is 9 by 9. So it's a little bit wider. So I'm going to press it twice. I'm going to do one side and then I'm going to do the other side. So I will press it twice. Okay. And then again, it's also a cool peel as well. So that's just getting there. It's at 320 degrees. Again, once it's done, it's going to beep. So again, really handy for you. And if you don't have a Bluetooth compatible Easy Press, you could still use that heat guide, right? So I'm going to go ahead and start here first. And again, some firm pressure. Very important that you're putting some firm pressure according to what it's telling you, right? That's going to make a huge, huge difference. All right. And then I will apply the same firm pressure to the other side as well. And then our design is done. So here we go. So now I'm going to just come back over to the second side. It's still set to 30 seconds and the 315 degrees Fahrenheit, right? So I'm going to go ahead and press that down.
Hey, Coach.
Yes.
I just wanted to make a note of how your hands are placed on the press to distribute not only firm pressure, but even pressure. If everyone can just pay attention to that, that's very important.
Yeah, they're both, I'm holding the entire handle with both hands, right? I'm not just in the middle here or on the side. I'm actually, if you were here in my craft room, you would think that I was holding on for dear life. That's how I'm pressing down on it. So that's done. So now I'm just going to give it wait till it's a nice cool peel till it cools down. And one thing you want to do, now that I'm done with my design, I can take my Easy Press mat from underneath. That's going to help because right now this is really hot, right? So I can go ahead and remove that, and that's going to help to now get it to that cool peel stage, okay? But it's still warm, so I would say wait till it's a cool peel. But of course, the magic of television, I'm going to go ahead and start to remove it. All right. There we go. And that is my hello, my name is t-shirt. Let's come to the front here so you can see it. All right. Here you have it. Look at that. And again, what I love about this is you can change the colors of it. You can change the text. I mean, you could do whatever, you could create whatever you like with this, right? So, this is a ready to make project, but again, the same rules apply depending on what you're going to do, right? It's still that 3 easy steps of design, cut, and assemble, right? So you can go ahead and create any kind of design by using those 3 steps. And of course, there are tons and tons of ready-to-make projects. So go into Design Space and look through those ready-to-make projects, and you could really find something fun, especially with like Halloween and fall here now. There's tons of designs out there that you can really be able to try out. So there is our project. And again, you are getting the recording. So if you miss anything, because I know we've shared a ton of information, just know that you have that recording to be able to fall back on so you can watch it back whenever you'd like. Thank you, Cecilia. All right, so I'm going to share another polling question with you, because I know we've shared a ton of information. So I'm curious to know, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? Do you feel like you need more assistance and that's why we're here? Or do you feel pretty confident, ready to move on and create tons of t-shirts, create tons of t-shirts to share in our Facebook groups, right? How are you feeling? So again, if you're feeling like you need more resources, that's why we're here. You know, you could always, you know, take this class again. We do change up the projects from time to time. I know for November and December, we have some really fun projects coming up, a wine tote bag that we're going to be working with, some really, really exciting new projects, not only in our iron-on class, but also our card making. We're going to be doing an ornament. So some really fun projects coming up in November and December. And I know that Katie had shared upcoming classes information in the chat. So you do have that available to you. All right, let's see how folks are doing. Okay. So it looks like 68% of you are feeling pretty confident about moving forward. 19% ready to soar with ideas. 4% not sure if they can move forward without some additional support, and that's totally fine. And again, the recording will really help you, because you can pause and you could always go back. And about 8% are feeling a little overwhelmed or challenged, which no worries, and reach out to us if you have any questions, because we would love to be able to help you. And speaking about help, we would also love your feedback as well. When this class ends, a survey will pop up, and we would greatly love to hear from you. It's a quick survey. We're always trying to make these classes better for you. We also want to know, what else do you want us to offer? So go ahead and fill out that survey, and we would greatly, greatly appreciate your feedback. So again, thank you in advance for filling that out. Okay. Thank you, Cynthia. That's the best response, saying that you feel so inspired and encouraged. I love that. And I hope you all feel so inspired, encouraged, because that's why we're here. We want to be able to provide you with the tools and resources to make crafting fun and easy. Right? So that's why we're continuing to offer these classes. That's why you could always come back and retake a class, join a Facebook group, check out our YouTube channel, go to Cricut Learn. I mean, there's tons and tons of resources out there. So again, please check them out. Erica says, great workshop. Plan to go t-shirt crazy tomorrow. Erica, I want to see your designs in the Facebook group. I want to see Coach Danny, check out my t-shirt design. Let me know. Go ahead and share it in there. And if I don't see it, Katie or Christine will definitely let me know. Thank you, Amber. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody. Erica says, got it. All right. I'm going to look for those t-shirts. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Beth. Okay, everybody. Thank you so much. I hope you had fun. I know I did. And again, that survey is going to pop up in just a second. So we would greatly, greatly appreciate your feedback. And I hope to see you all soon in another class. We do have the note card set class, which I'm actually teaching on Thursday. So if you're interested, come join us.